All right, it's another edition of the Loaded Radio podcast, and it is Scott Penfold here with you once again for the week and for another show. This one's a killer show, man. I'm going to be talking one-on-one with one and only Brandon Saller, the frontman and I guess one-time drummer, you could say, and clean vocalist for the band ATREYU. Now, ATREYU have a new album called Baptize coming out in June. Some great tracks coming off this thing already with Blink-182's Travis Barker featuring on a song called Warrior. And of course, the band's seeing a bit of a switch up with the departure of frontman Alex Varkatzis last October, and Brandon Saller, of course, is stepping out from behind the drum kit, taking over as vocalist, and drummer Kyle Rosa taking his place behind the kit. So we'll be talking to Brandon in just a few all about what's been going on with the band and about Baptize. And then coming up in the second portion of the podcast, as always, I'll be joined by Loaded Radio's Johnny Rude as we go over what's been going on in the week that is hard rock and metal. Plenty of news to be talking about, man. There's just a lot of stuff going on, especially when it comes to, I guess, a certain bass player losing his gig with a particular thrash metal giant band. But yes, all that's going to be coming up in the second portion of the podcast. But right now, I'm going to bring on this guy here, the longtime drummer and clean vocalist and now main vocalist for the band ATREYU. Always great talking to him. Brandon, thanks so much for hanging out with me today on the podcast, buddy.
All good, man. No problem.
A lot of changes obviously going on with the band recently. First question right out of the gate is, how have fans reacted to the recent changes within the band?
Quite honestly, it's been a bit overwhelmingly good. You know, we didn't know what to expect, obviously. We've been a band for over 20 years and have the same lineup essentially for most of the time. So you don't know what people are going to say or how they're going to feel, especially when you have a band like ours, which is, you know, very much kind of a lifestyle band, and people have a lot of ownership, I feel like, over our band.
Sure.
You know, it's kind of a leap of faith, but it's been so good. You know, like the numbers and everything has just kind of been speaking for themselves. So it's just kind of one of those things where we didn't know it was going to happen, but here we are kind of not even on the other side yet because the album hasn't come out, but we're sharing this new music and sharing this new chapter, and people have just been super, super good. It feels great.
It's great to hear, man, because a lot of bands will go through something similar to this, and it's usually not exactly the same kind of reaction. I mean, you got Kyle on drums now. I guess with the change in the dynamic, so are you strictly just going to be on the vocal area then?
Yeah, I'll be up front, just singing. We did some things on our live stream events where we switched it up around a little bit because I'm doing a little bit of screaming on the new album, but most of the more aggressive vocals are being handled by Porter. Yeah. And his voice is just untouchable, I think, in the screaming world. His singing voice is fantastic too. Yeah. But I'll be up front handling that. But we did a couple things in the live stream events where I went back to drums, Porter was fronting, and then Kyle actually went to bass. And it was just kind of a cool, fun dynamic switch. I think we might be doing that from time to time, but for the majority, I'll be just up front handling all the vocals.
Well, are these changes something that you're happy about or something that you've been waiting for, Brandon?
Of course. I mean, you know, the changes in our band came out of, you know, much thought and necessity on all parties included. And I don't know that the band could have kept functioning, you know, properly if we didn't make these changes. And now that we're here and now we're feeling it, and we're feeling the love from fans, and we're playing these songs together with this lineup, you know, we've never been more amped to be in ATREYU, you know?
Of course. Now, is there still a good relationship with Alex? I mean, what went down with Alex exactly?
I mean, a lot of it we're keeping pretty personal, you know. It was a number of things, but, you know, those things just caused us to separate. And, you know, I wouldn't say that we're on the best of terms. It's my hope that someday that will change. I don't like having any enemies in anybody.
Sure.
And we truly, you know, and honestly wish the best for him and anything that he's going to do, you know, in the future. So that's kind of just where we're at with it at the moment.
Completely understand that. Now, ahead of the release, I mean, some of the tracks I've heard off the album, they sound phenomenal, man. And just a couple that I'm going to bring up to you. Certainly the first one I want to bring up would be Warrior, featuring Travis Barker from Blink-182 on that one. What can you tell me about that song?
That song just came about, you know, we had a song on our last album called The Time Is Now. And it was like one of those songs that just got played on every fucking sporting event everywhere in the world. Every team, every stadium, every arena. And I love that. We love those songs that kind of bring you that kind of like, you know, competitive energy and kind of bring that fire to, you know, and we wanted to take that full force and do something that felt like, you know, halftime at a freaking high school football game, you know?
Yeah.
And the lyrics are just about, you know, persistence and standing up for yourself and pushing forward and kind of believing in yourself. We just wanted to bring forward that same energy in the music. And, you know, with wanting that kind of big high school football, you know, halftime thing, we wanted to do like a full marching section, which Travis Barker is so good at that. So we got him involved and really just brought the whole song to life.
Yeah. So was it just like a phone call, like, hey, Travis, come on over kind of a thing?
Yeah. I mean, Travis has such a good relationship with John Feldman, our producer.
Yeah.
Just because John's done tons of the Blink record. They do tons of projects together. So he's kind of in and out of the studio quite often. Like he'll just walk by and you're like, hey, Trav, and then he bails, you know?
Right.
So it was kind of like, hey, you think Travis would be into this? And it was just a text message. It was like, hey, would you want to come do like a marketing section on this ATREYU song? And it was like a quick, absolutely. So he came in like a couple weeks later and sat with us. And, you know, it's that humbling moment as a drummer where like you're sitting in Travis Barker's in the studio and you're in the control room and it's like, cool, how was that? And you're like, that was good, but can you try this as well? And he's just like, yep, okay. Like, you know, it's like the, you know, like you just like, shit, I don't want to tell Travis Barker anything and make him mad, but he's so just like down for the cause. He's just down for like the passion of creating music. So he was just as into it as we were.
Yeah, I mean, and you're both such incredible. You're both fireballs in the drums, man. So I think that would have been cool to be a fly in the wall there. That would have been really cool.
We got some video, I think, that we'll probably put out at some point of him tracking some of the stuff. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, great, man. Another song that really, I guess, jumps out for me would be the song Catastrophe. What can you tell me about that one? Catastrophe
is like, I think, one of my favorite songs on the record. We wrote that sort of after the separation. We went back in the studio to finish the album just the four of us.
Yeah.
Before Kyle had joined.
Oh, okay.
And we wrote some more songs. Catastrophe was one of the first ones we wrote. And that song is just like, I feel like that song has all the best parts of ATREYU and wrapped in one. There's like, you know, super heavy drums, really like metal riffs. There's a straight up like full on pop chorus. There's, you know, it's heavy, it's light, it's soft. It's like all the things that I feel like we do best. And lyrically, we kind of just took this like, and it's a love song in essence, but we kind of took a more sort of theatrical, you know, kind of post-apocalyptic theme where like, what would a love story be like if you were living in the apocalypse? You know, so it's kind of that whole concept of like the world can be literally burning down around you and a shit existence. But if you have someone there that you can live through it with, it kind of makes it that much better, you know?
Yeah. And I think the timing is really just kind of perfect with when you guys did record that and just sort of, I guess, the meaning with it. Very, very cool. I think it's a great, great song personally.
Thank you, man.
Now, as for the album as a whole, I mean, some of the tracks I've heard, there is, I'd say, a change in the musical direction. Is that something that was deliberately done with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, you know, ATREYU, you know, we're always going to be throwing curveballs. You know, we're going to be always kind of like trying to push the envelope and kind of push the needle forward as far as like what we can accomplish and what we can do as a band. And there's never really intention for what that's going to be until we get in the studio and kind of do it. But I think on this record, you know, there's songs like Dead Weight that are like kind of more in like the rock realm with a little bit of kind of more even balladish, I would say. That's a little different for us, but we've done those songs before, but I feel like it's like doing things that we've done before, but just pushing them further to like further extremes. Like there's a song on the album called Stay that we wanted to write like a full on like 80s pop ballad. Like it was like, what would ATREYU sound like for like an 80s pop ballad? Like you know, like mid 80s top down Corvette driving down freaking whatever, listening to this song.
Oh,
you know
like, what I mean? Like Kicks or something, or rap.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So it was like, that was kind of the vibe. And the song is like incredibly emotionally heavy. So it's like one of the more difficult songs that we've written just to perform, and because it's kind of a really sad subject matter, but the song itself is just very sonically different for the band. And we tried new things, and our guitar player Dan has his own vocal part for the first time in our history. You know, it's like a lot of cool, just trying to do new, different, interesting things.
So, I mean, that seems to be like something that you guys really enjoy doing, is almost just surprising fans like every time a new album comes out, especially with this one being with the lineup change and the change in direction almost. Is that something that's deliberate? Is that something that you're trying to like stay a couple steps ahead, or what is it exactly?
I think it's just, like I said, it's never like, it's never kind of planned, you know? Mm-hmm. We're always just trying to challenge ourselves as well as challenge the listener. And I think, you know, this far into our career, like people know who we are as a band, and they know that we're going to try different things. And I just think we always want to keep it interesting for ourselves. You know, time goes by in between every time you make an album. Like we're a band that essentially mostly writes our music in the studio. So when it's time to make an album, it's like, that's when we get in to that real creative space and like hone in on things. And, you know, as time passes, you know, you have new influences, you find different bands, or you're listening to different music, or you go through different things in your life. Maybe you had a lot of sad periods, or you have a really like a high in your life, and you just kind of have a lot to write about in different ways. And that influences what we do. I think that every time we make a record, literally every song we create is just a time capsule of that exact day, like where we were as a band that day when we wrote that song, you know, and it's the same could be said for our albums, you know.
And so, you know, some of my favorite songs that you guys have done are some of the covers that you guys have done, like Faith No More's Epic, Clean Sheets by the Descendants. Any plan for a collection and anything like that? Covers the Damned came out in 2010, but is there like anything else?
Yeah, that was like super under the radar. We did. It was funny. That was like a whole thing where it was supposed to be this big tour thing, but the vinyl press messed up and it flew under the radar. But we love that whole side. We have like a joke where we want to have like 20 partial cover songs in our back pocket that we can start playing in a given moment live.
That'd be cool, man. Yeah, and
almost have like a hand signal or a code word so we know it's about to come. But
right.
We'll see if we get there.
Nice, good stuff, man. Now you've toured with bands like Hollywood Undead, Bill Up My Valentine, Avenged Sevenfold. What are the bands that you really like best being on the road with?
I feel like you just named a few of them. I mean, Avenged they're such good friends of ours. You know, we love spending time with them. I mean, I hang out with those dudes and their families when we're at home, you know. So it's always nice to kind of continue that on the road. The Hollywood Undead guys are such a good time. They've always been super sweet to us, and we've become really good friends with them. Same with Bullet. Bullet's always been awesome. We've toured with them literally around the world, and every time it's been a blast. So
I mean, obviously you're looking forward to getting out there again. Is there any like sort of plan at this point for you guys? I mean, a lot of tours are starting to be announced. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, nothing that I could say at this second, but very soon. People should know that very soon things are going to be happening.
Oh, that's excellent. Now, looking at a little bit of your history, how old were you when you started to play drums?
I started playing drums when I was like 13, I think it was.
Yeah, were you singing at a young age as well?
No, I didn't start singing until probably maybe 16.
Right.
So, I mean, I was young, but not like as young. So I think maybe even drums was like 12. I was in like 7th grade when I started playing drums, and then started singing like sophomore year in high school. Yeah,
well, it was your brother, wasn't it, that got you involved in your first band?
Yeah, so he was friends with Alex, our old singer, and Dan. He was, you know, they're both like a year older than me, and my brother was kind of in their same grade. So he hung out with them, and you know, they were like, "Oh, we're in a band, we need a drummer," and he was like, "Oh, my brother's a drummer." So that's literally how the whole thing started.
Just even looking at some of your other projects, Hell or High Water, is that still in existence?
I mean, it's kind of one of those things that I think will always be in existence. As a matter, you know, as far as how active it'll be is another story. Everyone in the band just has their own things going on. I mean, Kyle is the drummer of Hell or High Water. Now he's the drummer of ATREYU. So he'll be busy when I'm busy. And, you know, Joey, our guitar player, plays in the Used, and everyone's got, you know, like our one guitar player makes like designs like microchips for Tesla. He has like a big job. So like everyone's kind of doing their own thing. So we'll definitely make music when the time is right. It'll be kind of one of those things that I don't think will ever die. It'll just kind of peek its head when it needs to, so to speak.
Well, you know, with the album coming out next month, what are your plans for the immediate future? Just you yourself.
I mean, I'm just so happy for this finally to come to fruition and people to hear what we've been holding on to. You know, this is a really, really big moment for ATREYU, and I think it's a really, really important kind of time period for our band. And we have, you know, a whole new round of proving ourselves to do, and we're excited to do that. Excited to get back on tour and just get back in the mix, man. So we'll be kind of just prepping for that and doing some fun things around the release, and just finally being happy that people can enjoy this album with us.
Buddy, that's so awesome of you. Again, thanks so much for taking the time with me today, Brandon. Really, really appreciate that.
No problem. Right. I appreciate it. Soon as we can.
All right. Sounds good, buddy. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye. And there he is. It's Brandon Saller from ATREYU, and the new album Baptize drops on June 4th via Spine Farm Records. Great release from these guys, man. Just killer. The stuff I've heard off it, killer. It features Jacoby Shaddix on a song, Matt Heafy on there as well from Trivium, and as mentioned, Travis Barker from Blink-182 featuring on a track there called Warrior. It's going to be killer, man. It's going to be mint. But I'm Scott Penfold here with you on the Loaded Radio podcast, and I'm now being joined by Loaded Radio's own Johnny Rude, who's joining us live from Las Vegas, Nevada. And Johnny, how you doing, man? How are things going down there with your Golden Knights?
Go Knights, go.
Yes, right. Yeah, big
hockey.
Knights fan.
Yeah, they're doing great.
I'm excited because I was just talking to Brandon Saller from ATREYU.
Nice.
A couple seconds ago. Yeah, he's an awesome guy, great band. And they have the new album called Baptize, which is coming out. And
Is he a hockey fan? Is he a hockey fan?
I don't know. We didn't talk about hockey at all.
Oh, you should always ask. Are you a hockey fan?
We're talking about the new album.
I'm
all about the new album. But yeah, so a great guy. So definitely love the new stuff from ATREYU.
Right on.
But yeah, lots to talk about in the way of news. You know what? I'm just going to give it to you to start off, dude, and I'll just jump in. Go right ahead, pal. Yeah,
buddy. I mean, we touched on this a couple of weeks ago. And it has to do with Dave Ellefson, from Megadeth. And, a mistake was made. But when you really start dissecting this, it was a terrible, terrible move, a terrible mistake. And I'm sure he regrets greatly. He's out of a job because a couple days ago, Dave Mustaine has put up a post, which I'm sure you have handy and you could even read, basically kicking him out of the band because of his behavior. And it's ridiculous, a 50-something-year-old man doing what you're doing, happily married, supposedly.
Yeah.
I'm not judging anybody, but, do what you want to do, but don't go live and hang out with, you don't know who you're really talking to or who you're associating yourself with. Clearly,
right. Yeah.
If your stuff gets exposed, pardon the pun.
Yeah, and for the few people out there that don't know, Dave Ellefson was, I guess you could say that there was some footage that was leaked online via some social media outlets via, I guess, a party who got a hold of these I guess video interactions which happen online, like Zoom, I guess Zoom meetings.
It was like a Zoom or your a
or
Facebook
Skype or whatever.
Yeah, Skype thing, and he was basically fiddling about.
Yeah,
and the unfortunate thing, the person he was fiddling about with passed that information on to somebody else, and that's how it got out there. And then they leaked it onto Instagram, Twitter. So if you try to find anything with Dave Ellefson, it's all been deleted. I think the only thing he has is a Facebook page and maybe a website, but everything else is
a lot
gone.
of his social media has been blown out. Dave Ellefson, however, did release an official statement today, John, and it says recently a very private video was illegally posted on the internet and false allegations were made against me. The actions in the video were between two consenting adults and were recorded without my knowledge. I am working with Scottsdale Police Department in their investigation into charges regarding revenge pornography to be filed against the person who posted this video. Also, my lawyers are preparing a defamation lawsuit to be filed against this person. This person will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And then they finish up by saying that he's taking this time to spend with his family, and I wish my bandmates the best in their upcoming tour. I guess still considering Megadeth his bandmates. I'm not sure what that's about, but that was the statement today, John.
Yeah, well, it's a wonderful statement to make, but the damage is already done.
Yeah,
that's the point on this. You can arrest somebody, you can charge them, but what happened. And there's another side to this coin, and that would be people who are pro Ellefson. Ellefson. It's and they're angry at Mustaine for firing him because if he's saying it's two consenting adults, hey man, the guy's a hard rock metal guy. Who cares what he does? That shouldn't be a reason why he's out of the band. But I think in today's standards with what's out there, you should know better. Again, with this Me Too movement and all this stuff, you don't know who you're dealing with. And they said, was he possibly grooming people? Has he done this with other people? Who knows? So no matter what he comes out to defend himself, that's all he's doing is trying to defend what happened. The fact is, it still happened. If you see the pictures in the video, it's ridiculous.
You know what? Like I didn't see the pictures until like you actually sent me one on my phone the other day, and I was just like, wow, like it's pretty it's all there, dude. You know what I mean?
It's terrible. It's terrible. What are you doing, buddy? You're married with children and you're a public figure. It's one thing if you're Bob the gas station attendant, no one gives a crap. Yeah. But you're in a pretty established, prominent rock and roll band. You don't do stuff like that. That's not with the camera, not anywhere where you can be filmed at least.
No. And this doesn't signify my opinion on this matter. I'm just saying that, you know what, like don't do that kind of stuff I mean, I'm a big believer in not doing that in front of a computer screen because, dude, you never know who's watching, dude. It's just the way of the world today.
That's right.
Everything is so easily filmed and people can watch. And to be somebody of that stature and being in a band like that and to do that, I think would have been risky in the first place, in my opinion. I think you should have given that some thought and maybe not gone that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the wrong head was thinking, Scott.
Yeah, of course it was. Of course it was.
Okay, here's another little tidbit to this. Even if it didn't get posted, let's say someone says, I have footage of you. If you don't give me X amount of dollars, or I'm going to tell your wife, or I'm going to post it, just like these people who hijacked the gas line, that, you know, that all that gas that went up the East Coast, and that company ended up paying these hackers from Russia $4.5 million. Right. Now, that to me is wrong, because now this kind of gives anyone license. Hey, I can go hack into something, a big company, and hold it for ransom because they're going to pay. Because if you don't pay, there's no way of fixing it. It takes weeks to find out how you've done this. So on that end of things, even if Ellefson didn't get this stuff posted, someone could have blackmailed him and he could have been paying through the nose. And then you've got this always over your head. I've done something. He would have had to have come out in the media and said, hey, this is out there, everybody, blah, 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 to try and diffuse it.
He did try to diffuse it the first day, because I actually found out about the whole thing from Ellefson's post. In his May 10th statement, he wrote that, as you may or may not know, some private and personal conversations and interactions have surfaced online, released with ill intention by a third party who was not authorized to have them or share them. While certainly embarrassing, I want to address it openly and honestly as possible, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on. You can read the whole thing at loadedradio.com. I mean, that's where I found out about this, Johnny. And I thought, oh, okay, it sounds like nothing. I mean, he was probably caught, with doing something, something he shouldn't have been doing. Right. But I didn't realize how in depth.
I did. I got it sent to me randomly from someone, and I was like, what? And I read it. I went, oh no, this is not good. Yeah. And then the same day, the compromising pictures were sent, and I was like, oh, this is really bad. But
as for Dave Ellefson, he's a free agent now. Who knows who's going to step into that role in Megadeth?
They'll find somebody. Sorry to interrupt you. Just as they found, awesome drummers in the past too, they'll find somebody. And so 2011, I came down here. I went to.
Oh, that's right. Indio, California.
Yeah, the big four. Yeah, with Metallica, Slayer.
Ellefson would have been there.
And that's when I think he came back I'm not 100%. I've seen Megadeth so many times, but I know he was out of the band for 6 years, and you can even read that on their site. And just another little footnote, the relationship between him and Dave was already strained a bit before this. So this was the nail in the coffin. And again, people are, they're pro Ellefson, they're anti Dave. They're saying, I can't believe you do this. Who cares, man? So what? Yeah. But politically and just ethically, this is not cool, dude. It's not cool. So no, I don't know. I don't agree with it. I think he made a mistake. Hey, man, do whatever you want to do, but don't get involved with online stuff where you don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah, it's real risky stuff, man. Especially
it's risky.
This is something I definitely wanted to talk to you about in Loaded News, John. This is been getting a lot of interaction at loadedradio.com and on our Facebook page, with just people commenting about an article I posted. Quiet Riot still touring after drummer Frankie Banali's death. Tour dates announced. So essentially, I know that you're a friend of Jizzy Pearl. He's fronting the band now. Yeah. Alex Grossi on guitar, Chuck Wright on bass. Chuck Wright may be a bit of the saving grace, and I'll get to that. And Johnny Kelly's on drums now. But there really is no Metal Health lineup there.
Zero.
It's essentially a cover band, and we're getting a lot of discussion about this. Like I was saying on our Facebook page, people like, is it a cover band? Is it Riot? A lot of people saying they'll go see the band anyway. What's your opinion on Quiet Riot right now?
It's a tough one, dude, because I know the guys.
Yeah.
I know who just produced it.
Yeah, we both do.
Yeah. So it's a tough one. Well, I have an opinion on that. Okay, well, let's talk about Foreigner for a second. There's not one original member in Foreigner. Mick Jones, he goes out with them from time to time, but when you go see Foreigner, you're paying top dollar because, quote, it's Foreigner. It's just the name. There's not one original member in that band. It's the biggest cover band on the face of the earth right now, Foreigner.
Right.
And in Quiet Riot, there's not one original member.
And now that Frankie's gone, I mean, obviously we lost Randy Rhoads back in, what was it, 82, 83. Well, I mean, if you want to get real technical, but like I think the Mental Health lineup, the 83 lineup, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the one that counts.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one that counts. I mean, the Randy Rhoads stuff, that was all, pre big songs. I mean, that record, Mental Health, and then Condition Critical record. I mean, they only really had two. Paul Shortino was a singer, but who cares? I mean, Jizzy Pearl went out and he replaced Kevin DuBrow. That's all they did were those hits off those two records. They're not playing any songs off Quiet Riot 3. No. No, they're not doing that. So it's a tough one. Jizzy was there with Frankie, and Frankie was on that lineup, the 83 lineup. And with Rudy Sarzo. But guess who played bass on all that stuff in the studio? It was Chuck Wright.
It was Chuck Wright, and he's in the band now.
He's in the band now. He's played in a few things, but he is a founding member, but never a live member, so to speak, at the beginning. It was Rudy, Kevin DuBrow, Frankie Benelli, and Carlos Cavazo. That's the original band. That
was to me Quiet Riot. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, that Chuck Wright, that fact that he was there and he did play on those albums, that kind of is a bit of a saving grace, but not really. Yeah. I mean, No.
Well, they've had, again, various singers. After Jizzy left, they had James Durbin, the guy who was on American Idol. He was the metal guy. Yeah. He sang for them. I mean, it's too bad because, believe it or not, and I've told you this, when they came out, I loved that band. I saw them anytime I could, opening for anybody, ZZ Top, Black Sabbath, them and Rat. I always went and saw, I loved Quiet Riot. I saw the Heavy Metal Hurricane at the CNE in 1984 with, it was Kick-Axe, Helix, Quiet Riot, and the Scorpions. And it was amazing. And I had Frankie Benelli. What a beautiful guy, man. I met him at the Rainbow that summer. And he took my name and number and he said, hey, you got all access. If you're from Toronto, man, just see me. And I met him at the hotel because I was such a little fanboy. And he said, hey, man, I just saw you a couple weeks ago. I got your name and number in my leather jacket. I went to Will Call, dude. I saw him driving in a limousine and he goes, hey man, give me like 15, 20 minutes. And I waited and sure enough, my name was there, me plus one. And I had all access for that show.
That's right. Yeah.
It was killer. I mean, it was great. And to meet all the guys was great. Kevin DuBrow was at that story, just bizarro, and I've met Frankie since when Quiet Riot, started doing clubs. I guess it would have been early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. They played the Reverb downtown Toronto.
Right.
And there was maybe 50, 60 people there. And I was there and I went up to Frankie. I told him that story. He said, I did that for you? I said, you did, man, when I was a kid. And he goes, wow, I'm a good guy. I said, Frankie, you were a great guy. And I have a picture that Frankie took. I have in my house here of him and I from that night. And one thing he said to me, he goes, hey man, he goes, you got a really cool look. I said, thanks, dude. That's awesome. There's a lot of Jizzy Pearl fans out there for Love Hate. So he's got a lot of fans. But he finished with the band and he wanted to pursue the Love Hate thing. But now they brought him back. At the end of this, what I'm sort of getting at is when Frankie was dying, Alex Grossi and him were very tight, and he gave him license to use the name. And Frankie's wife is still alive, obviously, and she is the one who is the champion for this project to keep it going in Frankie's honor. So that's why they're doing it, because his dying wishes was, please keep this going. Keep Quiet Riot going. So Alex said, okay, I'll do what I can. I'll put it together I'll ask Jizzy, I'll ask whoever I can get. And, because Carlos Cavazo is alive. He could be in there.
He is, and Rudy.
They talked, I think Rudy did play bass on some of this stuff, by the way. I think so. Chuck Wright did. I don't quote me, but I'm just kind of going with what I've kind of overheard. And he may have, or he's given his blessing to it. But the whole thing was Frankie's wife said, let's do this in Frankie's honor. He still wanted it to continue. So that's what they're doing, and that's why they're doing it. Now, here's the deal. If it has wheels, fantastic. If it doesn't, you're going straight down. You're going off a cliff with it, and it's not going to happen. Again, we could look into the Rat with the Bobby Blotzer's version.
Right.
What happened with that? Where did that end up? Went to court because all the other guys are still alive except Robin. And it's Steven and Juan. It's a tough one, dude. It's the LA Guns. Look, there's another one, and again, Steve Riley just got.
He just, I guess they didn't he just settle with Tracy and with Phil, and I think that now he has to be called Steve Riley's LA Guns now, and those guys can use, like Tracy and Phil can use LA Guns. I think that's how it goes. Yeah, well, they own the name, and I think at one point in time, Steve Riley, I think when they went to court, they kind of said, "Look, this is how you owned it," and I left, and I went back, and I own the name. Tracy's owned the name since he's been like 15 years old. I mean, because he was in Guns N' Roses, and before that, it was Hollywood Rose. Yeah. And so hence the name LA Guns from Guns N' Roses. I mean, it's a long story. Steve Riley joined the band in '87. So, but he was their tour manager. So that's why he got in there so well. And there was a falling out. So right now, all they're saying for that project is, you got to call it Steve Riley's LA Guns with, these three other dudes. You got Kelly Nichols playing bass, and you got Kurt Frolic, I think he's fronting it. And you got Scott Griffin, who was in a version of LA Guns, in the 2000s. I've seen it. It's okay. But you want to see Phil Lewis and Tracy Guns, man. That's who you want to see with LA Guns. I think that's LA Guns. When I think of LA Guns, that's who it is, right? Yeah. Those two guys.
Yeah. So this Quiet Riot thing, dude, I would say, let's see what happens. If the songs are cool, okay, it's cool songs. We'll see, dude.
And then finally, I've got this here for you, John. This is kind of cool. It's going to hit close to home as well. Kiss bassist, vocalist, Gene Simmons, going to be hosting a special masterclass in Las Vegas next month. Gene says, "Join me, Gene Simmons, in an intimate private setting on Saturday, June 26th. 2021 in Las Vegas, Nevada, as I teach you and your classmates to play bass and write a song." That's right. We'll be together on stage. Yeah, you will learn to play bass. You will learn to write a song, and you will perform as a band together. So Gene's putting on this special masterclass in Vegas next month.
And how much is that?
It's up on the website. It's at loaderradio.com. I don't have it in front of me. Hold on. If you go to genesimmonsacts.com as well, here we go. Well, if you go to genesimmonsacts.com, I mean, his line of bass is just fucking insane, dude.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got some cool stuff. I like the old school thing. I mean, obviously that the Axe bass that came out, those were a dime a dozen back in like 82. 81, 82. You couldn't give those away. I mean, literally, I remember going down to Steve's Music in Toronto on Queen Street, and didn't matter, dude. They were a couple $100. Now they're thousands of dollars. They're highly collectible. The original ones, even the new reissues, are super expensive because Kiss became this massive marketing band outside of the cool early music. But that's the old. If you can find one, dude, get it.
But I'm just looking here, and for the masterclass, apparently you have to email info@genesimmonsacts.com to inquire about payment plans, because if anything that's got a payment plan ain't going to be cheap, John.
No, exactly. And what he's trying to cash in on is people who are fans and that will pay an exorbitant amount of money. That's what this is about. And he knows that too.
It's an expensive pick, isn't it?
It's like these people, dude, that do these concerts and they buy the meet and greet.
Yeah.
It's out of control. I mean, it's hundreds, and like Motley, they all do it. And your concert ticket, whatever that costs, plus another $500, and you get to hang out for maybe 10 seconds, get a picture and say hi, and you get a Nikki Sixx pick, and then you're kicked out.
You get a pick, yeah.
I mean, you get a pick and then a bass pick with his, signature on it. Okay, get out next. Yeah, that's what happens. So honestly, I mean, they all do it, but it's just a great upsell, man. It's the fan, the meet and greet, fan experience with Alice Cooper, with all of them, dude. Yeah. And I know people that do this exclusively, and they pay like $2,000 just to get involved in this, and it's like, wow,
it's a lot of dough.
It's a lot of dough, and especially if you do it with every band.
Yeah. Oh, I know, dude. Oh, I know. I mean, you got to take out a mortgage to see a band nowadays anyway, right?
That's right. Oh, it's crazy, buddy. It's
wow. Hey, thanks as always for tuning in. Johnny, anything to say before we wrap up for the week?
Well, I hope Ellefson figures it out. I hope Mustaine figures it out. I hope all this music gets figured out and we can rock and roll again. I think so. There's tours that are starting. Alice Cooper's coming out. Megadeth's starting a tour. A lot of cool stuff happening. I just hope we can get back to it, dude. And I really feel here where I'm at, it's happening. Everything's opening up, and you start hearing about really cool things throughout the U.S. and I think Canada will eventually get there. Same with Europe, but I know this is sort of a planning year. 2021, everything will be back in 2022, but it's great to see some of these, classic artists, even, new bands saying, hey, man, let's just get out there and give it a shot, see what happens. And just be safe. Just be smart and be safe. But that's what I foresee. I think we're gonna get back to this sooner than later.
And as always, you can get a hold of me if you like, Scott@loadedradio.com, or Johnny. It's Johnny@loadedradio.com. And of course, you can catch Johnny 3 times a week on the stream for Loaded Radio Rewind. I think that's about it for me, dude. We'll have a new guest next week. Johnny and I'll be back, as always, talking about the week in metal, the week that was hard rock and metal. And Johnny, enjoy Vegas, my friend.
I will, buddy. It's getting hot here.
All right, as always, don't forget, check out loadedradio.com on a daily basis for all your hard rock and metal news, updated constantly, as well as the 24-hour stream right there for you, too. That's the radio station where you can find us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, playing tons of hard rock and metal for you and doing all the shows. Johnny Root on there as well, 3 times a week for Loaded Radio Rewind. And thanks again going out to Brandon Saller from ATREYU for joining us on the podcast this week. All right, we'll talk to you again next week on a brand new edition of the Loaded Radio podcast. And have yourself a good one.
Loaded Radio.